Hey everybody, welcome to this video. So in today's training, what I'm going to go through is really talk through the value of user-generated content, UGC. Now, this is a term that is thrown around quite a bit, but a lot of ecom brand owners don't actually know what it is. So we're going to go through what it is, how you can get it, and how you can maximize the value from it. If you don't know me, my name's Will De Bruin. I co-founded an e-commerce business in 2013 with my brother. We left our corporate jobs, started a cold pressed juice cleansing company from our kitchen bench, and that business has since gone on to do multiple seven figures per year. And I've also helped over 200 e-commerce businesses hit record revenue months through my paid programs called the Ecom Blueprint and Uplevel Mastermind. So UGC, user-generated content, what is it specifically? When we refer to UGC, we're really talking about content of any form that is created by anyone other than us as the brand or the business. So this can be across a multitude of platforms. The obvious one that we think of is social media, so images and videos, but then we can also have the likes of audio being like podcasts. We can have other videos such as YouTube, or even print media such as through publications like through PR efforts, public relations efforts. So there's all forms of UGC, but historically or typically we think of obviously the visual components. So there's just some categories that can immediately kind of expand our horizons on what UGC is. Now, the reason that UGC is so critical to e-commerce businesses selling online is really credibility and trust. So it's actually proven that 80 to 90% of people who make a purchasing decision will look for social proof or user-generated content, and that is in terms of building trust. Okay, so if you think about it, you go to a cafe, a restaurant, you stay in some accommodation, you look at a product online, and someone has no reviews or 1 to 2 reviews. What's your kind of initial thought? It's really, is this a legitimate brand? Or certainly, I'm not even sure if this product's going to be what it says it is. Is it worth it? It doesn't matter what you actually think. Anything is really going to seed some doubt. And if you're not 100% confident in the product and what it's going to deliver, then you're just not going to purchase, or at least there's going to be some more resistance there. Compare that to a product, a restaurant, a cafe that has 1,000 5-star reviews. Even to be more realistic, let's call it an average of 4.5 stars, but there's 1,000 reviews. Immediately you're just like, cool, that's a tick in my subconscious mind that they're legitimate and they do what they say they're going to do. And generally, 4.5 out of 5, they are a good product and people are happy with it. And you can obviously read 1 or 2 sort of comments. So that's from like a reviews perspective, but it works the same way from a visual perspective, meaning that not it's only just credibility in terms of volume and also recency, we talk about that, but also in other forms of media of just general recognition and relatability to what that person is saying, or that endorsement from somebody else, as I said before, other than us as the brand or the product. So whenever we get our hands on UGC as brand owners, we obviously wanted to be able to spread it across as many platforms as we possibly can. So again, typically the first default is, okay, just put in your organic socials, reshare the post, put in your story, whatever. That's certainly a really good thing to do. The second thing we can do is pop it into our ads. Okay, so we love to use user-generated content through our ads. Again, building the trust through the bottom of funnel, meaning the retargeting ads that are going to people over and over and over. They may have just visited your website, for example, and if they see someone that looks like them and they're talking about your product, immediate trust and credibility. We like to also put it through, say, our email correspondence. We always like to have as much user-generated content in the form of visuals and also, say, reviews as possible. Again, it's someone other than us talking about how good we are and how the results they achieve that's relatable. Okay, then you obviously want to put it across your other assets such as your website and even your social platforms as much as possible. So in your website, on your home pages, but specifically your product pages, you want to display user-generated content as much as possible. So that, again, that could be in the form of reviews, even having a review under the description of the product, and of course in terms of the visual component, people actually using it to make it look in proportion and relatability, and this is how you use it. Like, there's all sorts of explanations you can do. And then of course you want to have all the masses of reviews in your Instagram feed, for example, pulling through the bottom of those product pages. So you want to use it across a multitude of platforms in various ways, and also as often as possible. Okay, again, that's why volume and consistency and having an actual strategy behind getting UGC is really, really critical. So now, how do we get UGC? All right, we know why it's important, we know how to use it, but now how do we actually get it and make it a priority? So first and foremost, honestly, you can just DIY it. I've done that so many times for the organic socials and also putting into ads, as I said before, putting through website and emails. You just can DIY it if you're as an absolute default. Okay, so that means just honestly pulling out your phone or your Android and just starting to shoot, right? You can use ChatGPT to come up for ideas, but honestly, just product shots, day in the life, unboxing, whatever it actually might be, you using your phone looks authentic and it looks like user generated. You can obviously, use friends and family and business partners and whatever, but if you can emulate a customer experience as best as possible, that's going to be really effective. So start with the DIY. The second thing is to use obviously content creators and influencers that are promoting your product. So that's directly what you're going to get. That's really the intended purpose. Obviously, we want to get sales and build the audience, but content from someone using your product is just going to be a natural flow of doing your influencer and ambassador and affiliate outreaches nonetheless. So that's obviously the second part is, well, first one's done for you, but the second part is from legitimate UGC creators, influencers, and affiliates. The third thing is actually, directly from customers, okay? The majority of customers are quite shy and don't necessarily want to show off what it is that they're doing, for example, but there are a lot of customers who really do genuinely enjoy it. So we want to try and maximize that as much as possible. So when it comes to UGC, of course, we want to emote them to write reviews, but with written reviews, we want to have them submit, images or videos as well where possible. So a technique you can do here is obviously incentivize, but you might need to test and split test certain incentives. The old, get 10% off your next purchase or here's a $10 voucher may not work so much anymore. So if you can appeal to their emotions and increase that review rate and inspire them to create visual content as well, or UGC, then that's going to be much more beneficial and valuable to you. So it's worth paying a little bit more to get that outcome that is actually worth a heck of a lot more to you when it's displayed across various platforms. As we said about the trust factors, so crucial. It could be worth thousands or tens of thousands to you, especially if you go and put it in an ad or an email. So incentivize them as much as possible. Another one here is you can actually create a competition. So you can create a competition for your past customers to say, hey, submit a review with some user-generated content and go into the draw to win $500 worth of product or $300, or you can tier it. We've got a strategy through our program, but just the emphasis on running a competition or putting word out there and promoting that you're looking for UGC can be really super powerful and get a really great fast influx of user-generated content. Then the fourth one is obvious ones like online platforms. So these actually form as kind of marketplaces where you can interact with legitimate UGC creators. So you basically say, here's my brief, this is what I want, and they say it might cost you this much, or it might be thrown in the piece per content. It's almost like an order form. You just say, I want this, or willing to pay this for that piece of content, and then they'll be able to deliver it through the platform. So it's very, very easy, very set up for business to, business really, relationships, but UGC platforms like Heapsy or something like that are really sufficient and just really get the job done. And you kind of know quantifiably what you're getting for your dollars. So I absolutely recommend that. We've always had great experiences with that. And then the last one is actually through agencies. So UGC agencies. You can literally just Google UGC agency in Melbourne, for example, and you get a whole lot that actually pop up. And they typically have like a portfolio of people that they are contractually working with, and they will obviously seed your product to them. Now you pay for the privilege of going through the agency and having that immediate connection. So that's just the, con to this strategy. But same thing like the online platforms, you're gonna access higher profile people that are probably very, very legitimate and doing it as almost like a job, or at least a decent paying side hustle. So you're gonna pay a little bit more premium, but typically we get what we pay for. But I guess the thought process there too is when it comes to UGC, typically the highest performing is the rawest, is the most natural. Like if there's too much editing and it's too polished, then it doesn't actually come off the same way as a little point and shoot and some raw content might. So that's just a consideration, but it's certainly worked in the past. So they're the forms that we use in terms of getting UGC. We know what it's for, we know how it works, we know the benefits, and that's exactly how you can go and do it for your brand. It should be pretty straightforward, but it should be a priority for you to get it consistently. Volume matters, as I mentioned, and at the very least you kind of default back to you or someone that actually creating the content, and it performs as good as anything else across the other strategies that I mentioned. So look, I hope this was valuable for you. If you want to know more about what we do and how we help e-commerce businesses, there's a link below. You can click on that and get a bit more info. But I hope this was valuable, and if it was, please just give it a like and give me a subscribe, and look out for other videos like this where I'm helping e-commerce businesses with all sorts of strategies, but with the end goal to increase their revenues and scale. So other than that, thank you for being here. I genuinely hope you got value from this, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.